3 weeks had passed since the first contact with the Vorthik, and the USS Liberty was no longer alone in space. 2 coalition research vessels and a diplomatic ship had arrived to study the remarkable discovery about human consciousness. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the main conference room, watching as scientists from 6 different species worked together to understand the implications of telepathic resistance. The Vorthik ship had been repaired and was now docked alongside the Liberty. High telepath Zixthara had become something of a celebrity in the scientific community, being the first telepathic being to experience human mental complexity and survive the encounter. They moved between the ships freely now, working closely with human researchers. Dr. Carter entered the conference room carrying a stack of data tablets. "Jake, you need to see these latest results. Lisa's training has exceeded all expectations." Jake looked through the reports with growing amazement. Over the past 3 weeks, Chief Engineer Lisa Park had learned to create what the Vorthik called thought chambers, controlled mental spaces, where telepathic communication could occur safely. More importantly, she could switch this ability on and off at will, maintaining her natural telepathic resistance when desired. "This is incredible," Jake said. "She's essentially learned to control her mental chaos without losing it completely." Amy Rodriguez looked up from her communication station. "The implications are huge, Captain. Starfleet Command is requesting a full report for the Coalition Council. Apparently, several member species are very interested in human telepathic resistance abilities." Through the viewports, Jake could see shuttles moving between the various ships as researchers continued their work. What had started as a simple rescue mission had become the most significant scientific discovery in decades. Zixthara entered the conference room, their crystal form now glowing with steady, warm light. The alien had become much more comfortable around humans as they learned to appreciate the complexity of human thinking. "Captain Morrison, we have received word from the Vorthek homeworld. The Council of Telepaths wishes to establish a formal research partnership with humanity." "What kind of partnership?" asked Dr. Carter. "They want to create a new branch of study, what they're calling chaos psychology. The goal would be to understand how different species can benefit from both organized and chaotic thinking patterns." Lisa Park entered the room, looking tired but excited. She had spent the morning in telepathic communication sessions with Vorthak researchers, helping them understand human mental processes from the inside. "Captain, they're offering to train select humans in controlled telepathic abilities. Not full telepathy like their species has, but enough to communicate with telepathic aliens when needed." Jake found the offer intriguing, but was concerned about the risks. What would that training involve? Healer Kixmara, who had followed Lisa into the room, answered, "We would teach humans to create temporary mental bridges while maintaining their natural resistance. Think of it as controlled telepathic diplomacy rather than permanent mental connection." Amy was already taking notes. This could revolutionize interspecies relations. Humans could serve as neutral communicators between telepathic and non-telepathic species. The door chimed, and Commander Sarah Blake from the diplomatic vessel entered the room. She was a stern woman with gray hair who had overseen dozens of first contact situations. "Captain Morrison, I've just received orders from Earth. The Coalition Council wants to establish a new diplomatic corps, the Human Telepathic Interface Division." Jake raised an eyebrow. "That was fast. What would this division do?" "Exactly what we've been discussing. Train humans to communicate safely with telepathic species while maintaining independence from mental manipulation. You and your crew have been selected as the first candidates for this program." Dr. Carter looked worried. "Are we sure this is safe? We're still learning about the long-term effects of telepathic contact on human minds." Zixthara's mental voice carried reassurance. "Our 3 weeks of research have shown no negative effects on humans who practice controlled telepathic contact. If anything, The training seems to improve mental discipline and emotional regulation. Lisa nodded in agreement. I feel more focused and calm since starting the training. Learning to organize my thoughts when needed has actually made me better at my regular job. Commander Blake activated a holographic display showing the current political situation in the coalition. This couldn't come at a better time. We're facing several diplomatic crises where telepathic manipulation is suspected. Having neutral human mediators could prevent these situations from escalating into conflicts. Jake studied the display, noting tension markers near several coalition borders. What kind of crises are we talking about? The Xanthari trade dispute, for one. Both sides claim the other is using telepathic influence to manipulate negotiations. Neither side trusts telepathic mediators from other species. Amy looked up from her notes. But they might trust humans, since we're proven to be resistant to telepathic manipulation. Exactly. Human mediators could establish trust between parties who suspect each other of mental manipulation. Zixthora moved closer to the display. There's another consideration. Our research has revealed that human mental complexity could help solve a problem that has plagued telepathic species for millennia. What problem? Asked Dr. Carter. Creative stagnation. Telepathic species achieve great efficiency through shared consciousness, but we often struggle with innovation. Your chaotic thinking patterns could stimulate new ideas in telepathic minds. Lisa looked intrigued. You mean humans could help telepathic species become more creative? Precisely. Brief exposure to human thought patterns, under controlled conditions, might help telepathic beings develop new approaches to old problems. Commander Blake nodded approvingly. This makes the partnership even more valuable. Not only would humans serve as neutral mediators, but we could also help telepathic species overcome creative blocks. Jake realized they were discussing something that could change humanity's role in the galaxy permanently. This is a big responsibility. Are we ready for it? Dr. Carter reviewed his research data. Based on our studies, humans seem uniquely suited for this role. Our mental resistance protects us from manipulation, while our chaos provides stimulation for organized minds. Amy was already drafting communication protocols. We'll need to develop training programs for both humans and telepathic species. Humans need to learn controlled mental organization, while telepaths need to learn how to interact safely with chaotic minds. Zixthora's crystal form brightened with excitement. The Vorthek have already begun developing such programs. We propose establishing a joint training facility where both species can learn together. Where would this facility be located? Asked Commander Blake. We suggest a space station at the border between human and Vorthek territory. It would serve as a neutral ground for developing these new diplomatic techniques. Lisa raised her hand. I'd like to volunteer as one of the first instructors. After everything I've learned about telepathic communication, I think I could help train other humans. Jake looked around the room at his crew and the assembled diplomats and scientists. It seems like we're all in agreement. This partnership could benefit everyone involved. Commander Blake activated her communication device. I'll contact Earth and inform them of our decision. The Coalition Council will be pleased to hear that humanity is willing to take on this role. As the meeting concluded and people began to leave for their various duties, Zixthara approached Jake privately. Captain, I want you to know that meeting your species has changed our understanding of consciousness itself. We always believed that mental organization was the highest form of evolution. You have shown us that chaos and complexity can be equally valuable. Jake smiled. And you've shown us that our supposed mental weaknesses might actually be strengths. It's been an honor working with your people. The honor is mutual. I believe this partnership will benefit both our species for generations to come. 6 months later, Jake stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Harmony Station, watching as the first class of human telepathic diplomats completed their training. Lisa Park had indeed become one of the primary instructors, teaching humans how to create controlled mental bridges, while maintaining their natural resistance to telepathic manipulation. The station buzzed with activity as representatives from dozens of species came to learn about the new diplomatic techniques. The Xanthari trade dispute had been successfully resolved using human mediators, and 3 other conflicts had been prevented through the same methods. Amy Rodriguez, now promoted to head of communications for the new program, joined Jake at the viewport. Hard to believe it all started with a simple rescue mission. The best discoveries usually do, Jake replied. Sometimes the most important things happen when you're just trying to help someone in trouble. Through the station's corridors, humans and aliens worked together, learning to bridge the gap between chaotic and organized thinking. The beautiful complexity of human consciousness, once seen as a limitation, had become humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. As Jake watched a group of human trainees successfully communicating with telepathic aliens for the first time, he couldn't help. The quarantine bay had become a research center overnight. High telepath Zixthara sat with Dr. Carter and Amy Rodriguez, their crystal form now glowing with steady, curious light. The shock of experiencing human consciousness had worn off, replaced by intense scientific interest. Captain Jake Morrison watched from nearby as Lisa Park worked with the other Vorthek engineers to repair their damaged ship. "Please help us understand," Zixthara said, their mental voice calm but eager. "How do humans function with such complex thought patterns? Among our people, mental chaos is a sign of illness or injury. Yet you seem to thrive with multiple thought streams running simultaneously." Dr. Carter pulled up brain scan data on his tablet. "From what we can tell, human evolution created this complexity out of necessity. Our ancestors faced constant threats and challenges that required quick thinking and creative problem solving. We had to consider multiple possibilities at once, just to survive." Amy added her observations from the communication logs. "What you experienced as chaos, we experience as normal thinking. We can work on engine repairs while remembering childhood memories, while planning our next meal while wondering about alien cultures. It all happens at the same time." The alien leader's crystalline features shifted in what might have been amazement. "This is remarkable. In Vorthek society, thoughts flow in orderly sequences. We consider one concept fully before moving to the next. Our minds are like clear streams flowing in straight lines towards specific goals." "That sounds very efficient," said Jake, joining the conversation. "But doesn't that limit your ability to make connections between different ideas?" "Not at all," replied Engineer Kilvoth, looking up from their work with Lisa. "Our telepathic abilities allow us to share knowledge instantly across our entire population. When one Vorthik solves a problem, we all benefit from that solution immediately. There is no need for individual creative chaos when we have collective wisdom." Lisa wiped her hands on a cloth and walked over to the group. "But what happens when you encounter a completely new problem that no one in your society has seen before? Individual creativity might be messy, but it's also how humans adapt to unexpected situations." The question seemed to puzzle the Vorthek. They communicated among themselves in rapid, silent exchanges before Zixthara responded. "We have protocols for unknown situations. The Council of Telepaths considers the problem from all angles and develops a solution through collective reasoning. It is methodical and thorough." "How long does that process take?" asked Amy. "Depending on the complexity, anywhere from several hours to several days." Dr. Carter laughed. "Humans would have tried 12 different solutions in that time. Most of them would fail, but one might work. Our chaotic thinking lets us experiment rapidly." Healer Kixmara, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "This explains why the Coalition has found humans so valuable in crisis situations. Your species excels at improvisation and rapid adaptation. What we see as mental disorder is actually an advanced survival mechanism. Jake nodded. Human history is full of situations where someone had to think fast and try something that had never been done before. Sometimes the crazy ideas are the ones that work. Zixthara stood and began pacing around the room, their crystal body casting moving patterns of light on the walls. We are beginning to understand something profound about consciousness itself. The Vorthek achieved telepathy by developing organized, harmonious minds. But this very organization may have limited our individual creative capacity. It's a trade-off, said Dr. Carter. You gained perfect communication and collective wisdom, but you lost individual chaos and creativity. Humans kept the chaos and learned to work together despite our mental complexity. Lisa sat down next to Amy. I've been thinking about something. When your people tried to read my mind, you experienced all my thoughts at once, but that's not how I experience them. 2. My thoughts feel organized and manageable. Why is that? The question sparked intense discussion among the Vorthek. After several minutes of telepathic conference, Zixthara provided an answer. We believe it is because human consciousness has evolved internal filtering mechanisms. You process multiple thought streams simultaneously, but your awareness focuses on what is most relevant at any given moment. Like having multiple programs running on a computer, but only seeing one screen at a time, Amy suggested. An excellent analogy, agreed. Engineer Kilvoth. Your minds operate on multiple levels, but you have unconscious systems that manage the complexity. We, lacking such systems, experience the full storm of your mental activity without any way to organize or filter it. Dr. Carter made notes on his tablet. This could explain why some humans seem better at multitasking than others. Maybe some people have more efficient mental filtering systems. Jake found himself fascinated by the implications. What does this mean for our species' relationship with other telepathic races in the coalition? Are we immune to all forms of mental manipulation? Zixthara's glow dimmed slightly. Not immune, but highly resistant. Your mental complexity would make it extremely difficult for most telepathic species to maintain control over human thoughts. The chaos would overwhelm them just as it overwhelmed us. That could be incredibly valuable, said Amy. There are several coalition members who rely heavily on telepathic negotiation and influence. Having humans as neutral parties could prevent conflicts. Healer Kixmara approached Jake with obvious curiosity. Captain, we would like to conduct a careful experiment, with your permission. We want to see if humans can learn to temporarily organize their thoughts to allow limited telepathic contact. What kind of experiment? Jake asked cautiously. We would teach you meditation techniques used by young Vorthek to organize their minds before developing full telepathic abilities. If successful, you might be able to control your mental chaos enough to allow brief, safe telepathic communication. Dr. Carter looked interested. That could be useful for future diplomatic situations. The ability to communicate telepathically when needed, but maintain mental privacy when desired. Lisa raised her hand. I'd like to volunteer again. After what happened before, I'm curious to see if I can learn to control my thoughts better. Jake considered the risks. Dr. Carter, what's your medical opinion? Based on our observations, the danger seems to be to the telepaths, not to humans. Our minds naturally resist intrusion. If Lisa can learn to temporarily lower that resistance in a controlled way, it could be safe. Zixthara moved closer to the group. We must warn you that learning mental organization is extremely difficult for species that evolved chaotic thinking. It took our people thousands of years to develop these abilities. But we're not trying to become telepaths, Amy pointed out. We just want to learn enough control to communicate safely with telepathic species when necessary. The alien leader considered this, perhaps. Your goal is much more limited than full telepathic development. It might be possible to teach basic mental discipline in a shorter time. Lisa stood up eagerly. How do we start? Healer Kixmara gestured for her too. Sit in the center of the room. First, you must learn to observe your own thoughts without trying to control them. Human minds constantly shift focus. You must learn to maintain attention on a single concept for extended periods. Like meditation? Asked Dr. Carter. Similar, but more specific. You must learn to create what we call a thought chamber, a mental space where only one idea exists at a time. Jake watched as Lisa closed her eyes and began following the healer's instructions. After several minutes, she opened her eyes with a frustrated expression. This is really hard. Every time I try to focus on one thing, my mind starts thinking about 5 other things. Exactly, said the healer patiently. This is normal for your species. Continue practicing. Focus on the feeling of air entering and leaving your lungs. When other thoughts intrude, acknowledge them, but return your attention to breathing. Amy recorded everything while Dr. Carter monitored Lisa's brain activity. After an hour of practice, Lisa showed minor improvements in maintaining focused attention, but her brain scans still showed the complex multi-layered activity typical of human consciousness. It's a start, said Zixthara encouragingly. With practice, you may develop enough mental discipline to allow limited telepathic contact. Jake realized they were witnessing the beginning of a new chapter in human-alien relations. If we can learn to control our mental chaos when needed, while maintaining our natural resistance to unwanted telepathic intrusion, humans could become valuable intermediaries in galactic politics. Indeed, agreed the alien leader. Your species may hold the key to resolving conflicts between telepathic and non-telepathic civilizations. You could serve as translators and neutral parties in situations where telepathic manipulation is a concern. Dr. Carter looked up from his data. We should inform Starfleet Command about these discoveries immediately. This could change humanity's role in the coalition significantly. As the implications of their discoveries became clear, Jake realized that what had started as a simple rescue mission was evolving into something that could affect the entire galaxy. The chaotic nature of human consciousness, long considered a limitation, was revealing itself to be a unique advantage in a universe full of telepathic species. We'll need to develop. The quarantine bay had become tense after the failed telepathic connection. High telepath Zixthara sat in a corner with the other Vorthek, their crystal bodies dim and flickering as they communicated rapidly in their own language. Captain Jake. Morrison rubbed his forehead, still feeling the strange tingling from the alien's touch. Dr. Carter finished reviewing his medical scans and approached Jake. Your brain activity has returned to normal, but I recorded some very unusual patterns during the connection attempts. Whatever happened, it seems to be a natural response, not something harmful. Natural or not, it's got them pretty shaken up, Jake said, nodding toward the aliens. I've never seen a first contact situation take this kind of turn. Amy Rodriguez looked up from her notes. Captain, maybe we should try the connection with someone else. If it's something specific to you, another crew member might have better results. Lisa Park, who had been quietly observing the aliens' behavior, walked over to the group. I'd be willing to volunteer. As chief engineer, I'm used to dealing with unknown technologies and unexpected problems. Jake considered the suggestion. The diplomatic mission required establishing trust and understanding with the Vorthek. If they couldn't communicate properly, the entire first contact could fail. What do you think, Dr. Carter? Is it safe to try again with someone else? Based on the medical data, Jake wasn't harmed by the process. His brain showed unusual activity, but nothing dangerous. I think it would be worth trying, but I want to monitor everything closely. Zixthara's mental voice interrupted their discussion. We apologize for our reaction, Captain Morrison. In our long history, We have never encountered minds that resist telepathic contact. It has disturbed us greatly. No need to apologize, Jake replied. We're all learning here. My chief engineer has volunteered to attempt the connection. Maybe. Different humans will have different results. The alien leader's crystal form brightened slightly with renewed interest. Yes, we would very much like to understand if this resistance is common to all humans or unique to you. Engineer Park. R. You certain you wish to participate? Lisa stepped forward confidently. I'm sure. If it helps our species understand each other better, I'm willing to take the risk. Dr. Carter set up his medical equipment to monitor both Lisa and Zikthura during the attempt. Amy positioned herself with recording devices while the other. Vorthik gathered around to observe. The tension in the room was obvious as everyone prepared for the second attempt. Please sit here, Zikthura instructed Lisa, indicating the chair Jake had used. I will be very gentle and withdraw immediately. If I encounter any resistance like before. Lisa sat down and looked around at her crewmates. If anything goes wrong, just pull the alien away from me. I trust you all to keep me safe. Jake nodded grimly. We'll be ready. Zikthura approached slowly, their crystal hand extended toward Lisa's forehead. Are you prepared, Engineer Park? Go ahead, Lisa said, closing her eyes and trying to relax. The alien's hand touched Lisa's forehead with the same gentle pressure as before. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then Zikthura's entire body began to glow brightly, shifting through colors faster than anyone had seen before. But this time, instead of pulling away, the alien seemed frozen in place. Their crystal form was shaking violently, and their mental voice filled everyone's mind with confused and frightened thoughts. Too much, too many thoughts at once. How do you contain such chaos? The contradictions. The emotions mix in. With logic ... I cannot organize it. I cannot understand. Dr. Carter immediately moved toward them. Something's wrong. Their readings are off the charts. But before anyone could intervene, Zikthura's mental voice became a flood of confused impressions that seemed to come from Lisa's own memories. Everyone in the room could hear them through the alien's overwhelmed telepathic broadcast. Fear of the dark as a child. Pride in fixing the first engine. Sadness when the dog died. Excitement about joining Starfleet. Worry about the current. Mission ... Love for family back home. Anger at unfair treatment. Joy in solving technical problems, all at the same time. How is this possible ... Lisa's eyes snapped open. What's happening? I can feel something in my head, but it's not painful. The alien's mental voice continued to broadcast Lisa's thoughts and memories in a chaotic stream. Thinking about engine repairs while remembering childhood birthday parties, while worried about alien contact, while planning dinner, while missing home, while excited about discovery, while afraid of failure, while confident in abilities ... All simultaneously. The human mind is a storm of contradiction. Jake realized that Zikthura was experiencing every layer of Lisa's consciousness at once. Unlike the organized linear thoughts of other species, human minds operated on multiple levels simultaneously. The alien telepath was being overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of human thought patterns. Dr. Carter, we need to break the connection now, Jake ordered, but as Dr. Carter reached for the alien, Zikthura suddenly collapsed, their crystal body going completely transparent. They fell to the floor, their mental voice finally silent. The other Vorthik rushed to their leader's side, their own bodies flickering with distress. Lisa remained in her chair, looking confused but unharmed. I'm okay, I think. But I could feel something trying to sort through my thoughts. It was like someone was trying to organize my mind like a filing cabinet, but couldn't figure out the system. Engineer Kilvath knelt beside their unconscious leader, their mental voice filled with panic. High telepath Zikthura has entered a protective mental shutdown. This happens when a Vorthik mind encounters something it cannot process. We have never seen it triggered by telepathic contact before. Dr. Carter immediately began scanning the unconscious alien. Their vital signs are stable, but their brain activity is extremely low. It's like they've gone into some kind of mental hibernation. Another Vorthik, who had been silent until now, spoke up. I am Healer Kixmara. I must attempt to understand what happened to our leader. With your permission, I would like to try a lighter connection with your engineer. Jake stepped protectively in front of Lisa. Absolutely not. We're not risking anyone else until we understand what went wrong. Please, the healer pleaded. I am trained to handle mental trauma. If I can experience a small sample of human thought patterns, I might be able to help Zixthara recover and understand why your minds are so different. Lisa stood up from the chair. I'm willing to try if it will help. But this time maybe just a very brief contact. Like touching fingertips instead of a full hand. Dr. Carter shook his head. The risk is too great. We don't know what's causing this reaction. Amy had been studying her recordings of the incident. Captain, I think I understand part of what's happening. When Zixthara was broadcasting Lisa's thoughts, they were experiencing everything at once. Human minds don't think in straight lines like other species. We multitask mentally. We can think about several things simultaneously while emotions color everything we think. That would explain the overload, said Dr. Carter. If their minds are used to organized, sequential thoughts, experiencing human mental chaos would be like drinking from a fire hose. The healer looked desperate. Please. Just a brief contact. I will withdraw at the first sign of overload. Our leader may not recover without understanding what happened. Jake looked at his chief engineer. Lisa had always been brave and practical, willing to take calculated risks for the good of the mission. Lisa, it's your choice. But I want you to know that you don't have to do this. I understand the risks, Lisa replied. But if we can help them and learn something important about human-alien relations, it's worth trying. Just be ready to pull them away if something goes wrong. The healer approached Lisa with obvious nervousness. I will make the lightest possible contact, just touching your temple for a few seconds. Everyone in the room held their breath as healer. Kixmara gently touched Lisa's temple with one crystal finger. The contact lasted only 3 seconds before the healer pulled away, but their reaction was immediate and dramatic. By the crystal throne, the healer gasped, their mental voice filled with awe and confusion. Your mind is like a vast ocean with currents flowing in every direction. Conscious thoughts mixing with unconscious fears, logical reasoning battling. Emotional responses, memories triggering new ideas, creative impulses interrupting practical planning. How do you make decisions with such mental complexity? Lisa smiled. We just do. It's normal for us. Maybe that's why humans are good at solving problems and adapting to new situations. Our chaotic thinking helps us consider multiple possibilities at once. The healer looked at their unconscious leader, then back at the humans. This explains everything. Vorthik minds are like clear pools of water, organized and transparent. Human minds are like raging rivers with multiple channels, impossible to navigate for someone expecting calm waters. Dr. Carter was recording everything. This could be the most significant discovery in xenopsychology in decades. Human consciousness operates fundamentally differently from other known species. As if responding to the healer's explanation, Zixthara began to stir. Their crystal bodies slowly regained color and opacity. When they finally sat up, their mental voice was weak but clear. I have experienced something unprecedented, the telepathic. The quarantine bay had been transformed into a comfortable meeting space. Dr. Carter had set up medical equipment along one wall, while Lisa Park worked on understanding the alien technology with engineer Kilvoth. The crystal beings seemed to glow brighter in the artificial light, their translucent bodies casting rainbow patterns on the walls. Captain Jake Morrison sat across from high telepath Zix Thara at a simple table. Amy Rodriguez had positioned herself nearby with recording equipment, documenting everything for the official first contact report. The atmosphere was relaxed and friendly, exactly what Jake hoped for in a diplomatic situation. "Your ship is quite impressive," Zix Thara said, their mental voice carrying warmth and curiosity. "We have encountered many species in our travels, but human engineering has a unique approach." "Very practical and efficient," Jake smiled. "Thank you. We've learned a lot from other coalition species over the years. It's amazing how much you can accomplish when different civilizations work together." The alien leader leaned forward slightly, their crystal features catching the light. "Indeed. Cooperation is the foundation of all advanced societies. Among the Vorthek, we achieve perfect understanding through our natural telepathic abilities. There are no secrets, no misunderstandings between us. It creates a harmony that allows us to focus on higher pursuits." Dr. Carter looked up from his medical readings. "Fascinating. Your entire society is based on shared consciousness. How do you maintain individual identity in such a system?" "Individual identity is not lost, merely enhanced through connection," replied Kilvath, who had been working with Lisa on the technical problems. "We retain our personal thoughts and memories, but we also share in the collective wisdom of our people. It eliminates conflict and promotes understanding." Amy paused in her note-taking. "That sounds wonderful, but what about privacy? Don't you ever want to keep some thoughts to yourself?" The five Vorthek exchanged what could only be described as amused glances, though their crystal faces made expressions difficult to read. Zix Thara's mental voice carried gentle laughter. "Privacy is a concept we encounter among less developed species. When minds are truly open, there is no need for secrecy or deception. Truth shared is truth multiplied." Jake found himself intrigued by their philosophy, even if he didn't entirely agree with it. It's an interesting perspective. Humans value both cooperation and individual privacy. We believe that having personal thoughts and feelings actually makes us stronger as a species. "Perhaps," said Zix Thara, "but consider how much more efficient your society could be if all humans could communicate as we do. No misunderstandings, no lies, no hidden agendas. Perfect trust between all individuals." Dr. Carter finished his scans and approached the group. "Speaking of communication, I'd like to understand more about how your telepathy works. Are you reading our thoughts right now?" Zix Thara's glow seemed to dim slightly. "We can sense the surface thoughts of most species, but we practice restraint unless invited to establish deeper contact. Your minds are different from what we usually encounter. There seems to be more complexity in your thought patterns." "Different how?" asked Jake, his curiosity getting the better of him. "It is difficult to explain. Most species we have met think in linear patterns. Their thoughts flow like a river, clear and predictable. Human thoughts seem to move in multiple directions at once, like streams branching and rejoining. It is unusual." Lisa looked up from the alien technology she had been studying. "Maybe it's because we evolved differently. Humans had to survive in a competitive environment. We needed to think quickly and consider multiple possibilities at the same time." Zix Thara stood up slowly, their tall frame casting long shadows. "In the room, this intrigues us greatly. Among the Vorthek, we have formal ceremonies for establishing deep telepathic bonds with new species. It allows for complete understanding and trust. Would you be willing to participate in such a ceremony, Captain Morrison?" Jake felt a moment of hesitation. He had dealt with telepathic species before, but never one that wanted to establish a direct mental link. Still, if it would help with diplomatic relations and understanding between their peoples, it seemed worth the risk. "What would this ceremony involve?" he asked. "It is quite simple. I would place my hand upon your forehead and establish a direct connection between our minds. You would experience our thoughts and memories, and we would experience yours. It creates a bond of perfect understanding that cannot be broken by misunderstanding or deception. Amy leaned forward. Is it safe? I mean, are there any risks to either species? We have performed this ceremony with over 30 different species throughout the galaxy. There have never been any negative effects. The connection is temporary, lasting only a few minutes, but the understanding it creates is permanent. Dr. Carter checked his medical readings again. From a biological standpoint, I don't see any obvious dangers. Your telepathic abilities seem to work on a level that shouldn't cause physical harm to humans. Jake made his decision. All right. If it will help our species understand each other better, I'm willing to try. Zixthara's glow brightened with what appeared to be pleasure. Excellent. Please remain seated and relaxed. I will make the connection as gentle as possible. The alien leader moved around the table and stood behind Jake's chair. The other Vorthok gathered closer, apparently wanting to witness this historic moment. Amy activated her recording equipment, while Dr. Carter kept his medical scanners focused on both Jake and Zixthara. Are you ready, Captain? Asked the telepathic alien. Jake nodded. Go ahead. Zixthara placed their crystal hand on Jake's forehead. The touch was surprisingly warm, despite the alien's glass-like appearance. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Jake felt a strange tingling sensation, like static electricity building up in his mind. Suddenly, Zixthara jerked their hand back as if they had been burned. The aliens staggered backward, their crystal form flickering between different colors. The other Vorthok rushed to their leader's side, their mental voices filled with concern and confusion. What happened? Dr. Carter immediately began scanning both Jake and the alien leader. Are you hurt? Jake rubbed his forehead where the alien had touched him. I'm fine. Just felt like a mild electric shock, nothing painful. But Zixthara was clearly not fine. The alien leader was trembling, their translucent body shifting through colors Jake had never seen before. When they finally spoke, their mental voice was shaky and confused. I could not enter your mind. It was like trying to walk through a solid wall. I have never encountered such a thing. The other Vorthok were speaking rapidly among themselves, in their own language, their crystal bodies flickering with agitation. Engineer Kilvoth turned to the humans with obvious distress. In 300 years of life, High Telepath Zixthara has never failed to establish mental contact with any species. This is unprecedented. Amy looked between Jake and the aliens with growing concern. Maybe we should stop here and figure out what went wrong. No, said Zixthara, steadying themselves against the table. I must understand this. Captain Morrison, with your permission, I would like to attempt the connection again. Perhaps I approached it incorrectly. Dr. Carter immediately protested. I don't think that's a good idea. We don't know what caused that reaction. It could be dangerous to try again, but Jake was curious now. In all his years of space exploration, he had never encountered anything like this. I'm willing to try once more, but only if Dr. Carter monitors us closely. Zixthara nodded gratefully. I will be more careful this time. Perhaps a lighter touch will succeed where force failed. The alien leader approached Jake again, this time moving more slowly and deliberately. The other Vorthok watched intently, their bodies glowing with nervous energy. Amy kept her recording equipment running, sensing that they were witnessing something historically significant. Zixthara placed their hand on Jake's forehead again, but this time the touch was gentler, more tentative. The tingling sensation returned, but stronger this time. Jake felt as if there was pressure building inside his skull. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of the alien mind entering his thoughts, Jake felt his own consciousness pushing outward, like water bursting through a dam. For just a moment, He sensed Zixthara's surprise and confusion before the alien pulled away again, this time with what looked like genuine fear. "Impossible," whispered the alien leader. "Your mind... It does not just resist intrusion. It actively repels it. And the thoughts within, they are like a storm of chaos and contradiction. How do you function with such mental turmoil?" Jake looked around the room at his crew, then back at the shaken alien. "I don't understand. My thoughts feel perfectly normal to me." Dr. Carter was studying his readings with intense concentration. "Jake, according to these scans, your brain activity spiked dramatically during both attempts. But the patterns are unlike anything I've ever seen. It's as if your mind was defending itself automatically." Zixthara was still trembling, their crystal form now a dull blue color. "We must contact our homeworld immediately. The Council of Telepaths must be informed of this discovery. A species with minds that cannot be read. This changes everything. We know about consciousness and mental evolution." The mood in the room had shifted from friendly curiosity. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship had been patrolling the outer rim for 3 months now, and the crew was getting restless. Space exploration wasn't always exciting. Most days were filled with checking sensors, running diagnostics, and writing reports about empty space. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," called out Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. She was the ship's communication specialist, a young woman with sharp eyes and quick fingers that danced across her control panel. Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "It's a distress signal, but not like anything in our database. The pattern is completely different from any known species in the Coalition." Amy's brow furrowed as she studied the readings. "The signal is weak, but it's definitely artificial. Someone is calling for help." Chief Engineer Lisa Park looked up from her own console. "I'm reading debris about 2 light minutes from our position. Whatever it is, it's not moving under its own power." Jake made his decision quickly. That was one thing about being a starship captain. You learn to trust your gut. Set course for the signal. Red alert, but keep weapons powered down. If someone needs help, we help them. That's what we're out here for." The USS Liberty changed course, its engines humming with increased power. The ship was one of the newer exploration vessels, built for long-range missions and first contact situations. It wasn't the biggest ship in the fleet, but it was fast and well-equipped for dealing with the unknown. Dr. Ben Carter, the ship's doctor and xenobiologist, arrived on the bridge within minutes. He was a tall man with graying hair, who had seen more alien species than most people could imagine. "What are we looking at, Captain?" "Unknown vessel in distress. Get your medical kit ready and prepare the quarantine bay just in case." Jake knew that first contact with a new species was always risky. Diseases, cultural misunderstandings, and technological incompatibilities could all turn a rescue mission into a disaster. As they approached the source of the signal, the main screen filled with the image of a damaged spacecraft. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The hull appeared to be made of some kind of crystal or glass, translucent and shimmering with internal light. Parts of it were cracked and broken, with pieces floating in space around it. "Beautiful," whispered Amy. "I've never seen anything like it." "Neither have I," said Jake. "And I've been doing this for 15 years. Lisa, can you tell if there are life signs aboard?" Lisa's fingers flew over her instruments. "The hull material is interfering with our sensors, but I'm detecting some kind of energy patterns inside. Could be life support systems, could be the aliens themselves. Hard to tell with this crystal construction." Jake opened a communication channel. "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship USS Liberty. We received your distress call and are here to help. Please respond." For a moment, there was only static. Then something extraordinary happened. Instead of hearing a voice through the speakers, Jake felt words forming in his mind. It was like someone was speaking directly into his thoughts, but the voice wasn't his own. "We greet you, beings of the metal ship. I am High Telepath Zixthara. Of the Vorthic, our vessel has suffered great damage. We require assistance." The bridge crew looked at each other in amazement. Dr. Carter was the first to speak. Did everyone else just hear that in their head, or is it just me? "We all heard it," said Jake. He had dealt with telepathic species before, but never one that could communicate so clearly across the vacuum of space. "This is remarkable." The mental voice continued. "We apologize for the intrusion into your thoughts. It is our natural way of communication. We mean no harm and seek only aid in our time of need." Jake responded aloud, hoping the aliens could somehow hear him. "We understand, Zixthara. We're prepared to help. What happened to your ship?" "We encountered a field of space debris traveling at high velocity. Our navigation systems failed to detect the threat in time. Several of our crystal hull sections were damaged, and our propulsion system is offline. We have emergency life support, but it will not last much longer." Dr. Carter stepped forward. "Captain, I recommend we beam them directly to the quarantine bay. We can establish proper medical facilities there and begin first contact protocols." Jake nodded. "Zixthara, we're going to transport you and your crew to our ship. You'll be safe here while we assess your injuries and discuss repairs to your vessel. We accept your offer of sanctuary. There are 5 of us aboard. We will prepare for your transportation method." The transporter room buzzed with activity as the crew prepared for the most unusual rescue mission any of them had ever attempted. Jake, Amy, Dr. Carter, and Lisa made their way down to meet their unexpected guests. The transporter activated and 5 figures materialized on the platform. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The aliens were tall, easily 7 feet in height, with bodies that seemed to be made of the same translucent crystal as their ship. Their skin had a blue tint and appeared to glow with soft internal light. They had long, thin limbs and faces that were vaguely humanoid, but stretched and elongated. Zixthara, who Jake assumed was the leader based on the slightly different coloration of their crystal skin, stepped forward. "We thank you for your assistance, Captain Morrison. Your kindness will not be forgotten by the Vorthak people." Dr. Carter immediately began his medical scans, running his tricorder over the aliens. Fascinating. Their entire body structure appears to be silicon-based rather than carbon-based like humans. "I'm reading some kind of damage to their internal energy matrix, but nothing that appears life-threatening. Our ship sustained damage when the debris impact disrupted our power systems," explained Zixthara. "We draw energy directly from our vessel's crystal matrix. Without it, we will weaken. Over time," Lisa looked up from her own readings, "I might be able to help with that. If I can understand how your power systems work, maybe I can rig up a temporary energy source." One of the other Vothek, smaller than Zixthara, spoke directly into their minds. "We are grateful for your technical assistance. I am Engineer Kilvoth. I will share our technical knowledge with your engineer if she is willing." Jake watched the interaction with growing fascination. The aliens seemed genuinely peaceful and cooperative. Their telepathic communication was strange but not threatening. Still, years of experience had taught him to be cautious. "Dr. Carter, please escort our guests to the quarantine bay and begin full medical evaluations. I want to make sure they're healthy and that we're not dealing with any biological incompatibilities." Jake turned to the aliens. "This is just a standard precaution. We need to make sure our species can coexist safely." Zixthara's mental voice carried what seemed like amusement. "We understand your caution, Captain. It is wise to be careful when dealing with unknown species. We have similar protocols among our own people." As the group made their way through the ship's corridors, Jake noticed that the other crew members they passed stopped to stare at the aliens. It wasn't every day that beings made of living crystal walked through the halls of the USS Liberty. Amy walked alongside Jake, occasionally glancing back at their guests. "Captain, this could be the most significant first contact in decades. A completely new species with natural telepathic abilities and crystal-based biology. The scientific implications are enormous." Jake nodded, but something in the back of his mind was bothering him. The aliens seemed too perfect, too cooperative. In his experience, first contact situations were usually more complicated than this. Still, he couldn't put his finger on what was making him uneasy. As they reached the quarantine bay, Zixthara paused and looked directly at Jake. "Captain, if I may ask, your species is unfamiliar to us. We have not encountered your kind in our travels through this region of space. What do you call yourselves?" "We're humans from the planet Earth. We've been members of the Galactic Coalition for about 20 years now." The Vorthak leader's crystal features seemed to shift slightly, and Jake could swear he saw surprise in those alien eyes. "Humans, most interesting. We have heard whispers of your species in our travels, but we were told that humans were different somehow. We look forward to learning more about your people." As the doors to the quarantine bay closed behind the aliens, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this simple rescue mission was about to become something much more complicated.